Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tariro. I'm going to present a paper titled The Construction of a Christian Drug Abuse Rehabilitation Module and its Effectiveness on Self-Control and Self-Concept on Youth Drug Abusers in Zimbabwe. Drug abuse by the youth in Zimbabwe is a crisis. So dies the situation that the majority of the youth, 57%, are involved in drug abuse, most of which are urban dwellers. 45% of all admitted cases in Zimbabwe's mental health institutions are drug abuse-induced mental illnesses. Of these, 60% are relapse cases. The motivation for the study is that drug abuse has destroyed and devastated these youths' lives, as well as negatively affecting their families, community, and nation at large. Any responsible citizen cannot be a bystander of such a grave situation of drug abuse, a cancer that is slowly but dangerously destroying Zimbabwe to the core. Therefore, the current study intends to complement the current rehabilitation programs offered to the youth drug abusers in Zimbabwe by developing a Christian rehabilitation module for this age group, as 84.1% of the Zimbabwean population are Christians. Now we move to the problem statement. The problem in this study is that there is a crisis of drug abuse by the youth in Zimbabwe, yet the current rehabilitation methods employed by the government are not adequate in addressing the issue of drug abuse. Also, religion is a very essential component in the rehabilitation process and a protective measure from drug abuse relapse. Yet, there is no current religion-based rehabilitation module for youth drug abusers in Zimbabwe to date. The conceptual framework of the study is shown in the diagram. The study shall take the Christian-based intervention as the independent variable, the cause. Self-control and self-concept serve as the intervening variables, the moderating variables. Self-concept and self-control are behavioral changes caused by the intervention of the Christian rehabilitation module. Once one gains self-control and self-concept, it may subsequently cause rehabilitation to take place. Now we move to the scope of the research and limitations. The population that will be eligible for participation in this study are youth drug abusers who are between the ages of 15 and 35 who reside in Harare, the capital city of Zimbabwe. The research is limited to this location and age group because it is reported to be the city where the highest rate of drug abuse by the youth occurs. Also, the study will target drug abusers who are Christians or those who are willing to be rehabilitated from a Christian perspective, but who are not necessarily Christians. Lastly, though there are several cognitive behavioral theories to date, the study will be limited to the religiously cognitive behavioral theory. This is because the theory provides for the fusion of an individual's religion in addressing their thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Now we move to the contribution of the study. The study is expected to contribute to the Public Mental Health Service of Zimbabwe as it widens the department's rehabilitation programs by introducing an additional rehabilitation approach for drug abusers in Zimbabwe, which focuses on religion as a rehabilitation method. The study will also contribute to the study of drug abuse in the Zimbabwean context. The methodology of the study is quasi-experimental design. Most studies on the aspect of drug abuse in Zimbabwe are narratives in a qualitative approach. The study also is one of the few studies that have ventured and tapped into integrating religiously integrated cognitive behavioral therapy into drug abuse rehabilitation in the Zimbabwean context. Now we move to the literature review of the study. The study reviewed published books and journal articles that highlighted on the existence of the problem of drug abuse by the youth in Zimbabwe, studies that analyzed the current intervention programs offered to drug abusers in Zimbabwe. The study also reviewed literature that studied the religion as an intervention tool for drug abuse rehabilitation. The study also looked at studies that enhanced of self-concept by Christianity. The study also looked at literature that talked of enhancement of self-control by Christianity. Whilst this study highlights the problem and the current rehabilitation methods employed for youth drug abusers in Zimbabwe, it goes a step further than previous studies in that it seeks to provide a solution to drug abuse by the youth in Zimbabwe through the development of a Christian-based rehabilitation module for these drug abusers. The study has 5 hypotheses. The first one being youth drug abusers in Zimbabwe may be rehabilitated through Christian-based rehabilitation module. Secondly, there is no mean difference in self-control before and after intervention for the experimental group. Thirdly, there's no mean difference in self-control between day 1 and day 90 for the control group. 4, there is no mean difference in self-concept before and after intervention for the experimental group. Lastly, there is no mean difference in self-concept between day 1 and day 90 for the control group. The study will be guided by 5 objectives. The study has 5 research questions, all that are linked to the hypothesis of the study. Now we move to the methodology of the study. The research shall use a quasi-experimental research design. The study shall use pre- and post-test for 2 groups. One shall be the test group and the other shall be the control group, with each group anticipated to have 10 participants. The intervention for the test group shall be conducted for a period of 3 months in 10 sessions. Each session shall be an average of 2 hours. The study shall measure self-control using brief self-control scale and self-concept using tennis self-concept scale. The study expects to find the developed drug abuse rehabilitation module effective in enhancing self-control and self-concept in youth drug abusers in Zimbabwe. In conclusion, the study was sharing the idea of developing a drug abuse rehabilitation module for youth drug abusers in Zimbabwe, whose effectiveness is to be measured on self-control and self-concept. Thank you.